Hola, buenos días. Hola, buenos días a todos y a todos. Gracias por acompañarnos a esta segunda sesión, donde vamos a continuar con los temas del curso, que si recuerdan ayer estuvimos hablando sobre todo el tema de financiarización, ¿no? Poco a poco nos vamos aproximando hacia aplicar estas teorías al problema del cambio climático y el financiamiento a la transición energética, ¿sí? Entonces, sin más, le doy la palabra al doctor Faruk.
Thank you very much, Cesar. Thank you very much again for being there the second day. It was very, very nice. And I had really great pleasure to share this yesterday morning and noon with you. So today I keep developing the different points that we started to talk about yesterday. So I take back my point about regulation. When we left this discussion yesterday. So here I will share again a few parts of the article that I use for this purpose. So for the regulation, one of the things that I would like to put forward is about institutions, or the what do we mean by institutions? What kind of role institutions might play in the social framework? Just to speak in very general terms, social framework as well as economic or environmental and so on, and what they do mean. And so maybe you know all these things already. I will just give a reminder, short and quick reminder about, because we'll be working on the way of organizing the different aspects of the transition process through a kind of institutional framework. So we'll be using institutional framework, or thinking about institutional framework that would be able up to allow our society to make this transition effective, possible and effective, if any, of course. So here I refer, among other people, I refer to different authors, institutional authors, like Ostrom. One of the works of Ostrom was with Basurto, Xavier Basurto, where they put forward, they put the emphasis on the necessary institutional change that we have to think about when we talk about this evolution of our society on environmental as well as on economic, social, etc., political level. So another reference is to Hodgson, another great institutionalist economist, who was one of the former presidents of the European Association for Evolutionary Political Economy. This is the European-wide institutionalist association. But also he was one of the former president of the FE, Association for Evolutionary Economics, more American institutionalist, but also worldwide organization. And another one is Veblen, one of the great names, great figures of institutionalism, one of the founders of institutionalist approaches that we now refer to as original or old institutionalism. So all those guys put the emphasis, the focus on the importance of institutions when it comes to how to say, to think about the organization of society and its evolution. And as among others, North has already stated it, institutions are individuals' behavior shapers or makers, let's say, more radically speaking. So without institutions, we cannot think about individuals, even if we have to think about an institution, individualistic society. Even for an individualistic society like our society, we have to think about institutions, the institutional framework. So this is just in a few words the point. Also, another, of course, reference is to Commons, like Veblen, even if Commons and Veblen were not, did not share the same perspective, political perspective. They are both the founders of institutionalist school, even if we don't use this term today anymore. We talk about theories, approaches, not schools. But institutionalism was a school at that time. And Commons is very clear on this issue, because as we will be seeing it again back in the third session, Commons says that institutions make collective action possible, and collective action makes individuals' actions possible. So there's a kind of a logical chain between institutions, organization of society that we can call collective action, and individuals. And here, this is a very generic statement. It is not about the centralized or decentralized nature of a given economy, of a given society. It holds for any kind of society. Any kind means with regard to our society. Okay, any kind of organization of our society. I'm not talking about old societies, primitive societies, or maybe future societies, because it's not good to do so, generalize things in the universal terms, while we know that things depend on many dimensions, space, time, and so on, so on. So we are talking about a given society that we can identify at a given space, time, and what is the third? I don't remember, dimensions. So from this perspective, it is very important to take into account institutions or institutional framework or institutionalist or institutional issues when we have to deal with different problems of our societies, including, of course, climate and financial instability. Okay. And you can see again a similar quotation from Ostrom and Basurto, who stated that, oh, where am I? Here. Here, when we study institutional evolution, we focus on different configurations of rules that shape human interactions. Okay? So that means different rules that make individual actions possible and relevant or irrelevant, because institutions shaping individuals' actions doesn't mean that this process result always in good outcomes. Okay, there is now a kind of such a kind of value judgment. Okay, just an observation, a statement, logical statement that institutions are essential, crucial to understand society. So then now we can start to talk about climate issues. That I will be calling here the transition issues. They are many because we talk about transition, energy transition, but they are many. They are many. Maybe they converge all toward the same issue, the transition of society. That is the idea that I will try to defend here, to argue in favor of. So energy transition with mainly technological transformation and transformation of our way of producing and consuming energy, far from the traditional fossil things. Environmental transition with this the change, necessary change of our production and consumption models, because environmental transition requires not only what kind of machine we have to use or what kind of energy resource we have to use to make machines work. It's also related to what are we doing, what are we asking for as products to be consumed and how we consume things. Okay, and here we can think about what we call the recycling process or overconsumption and so on. All these things. Today, for example, in European Union, many measures are taken this year, since last year, related to the production process of different enterprises, even if those measures are very, very modest for the moment. They are not very radical because they put the limits for some kind of obligation to a very high level that makes that a very few corporations are concerned by those measures for the moment. But those are symbolic measures. That means that we are in a kind of formal transition process, legal transition process, collectively speaking, at the European Union level. Another example at the European Union level is this now the prohibition imposed to different manufacturers to not to destroy the used clothes, because the calculus gave that we have billions and billions of clothes that are destroyed every year because of our model of consumption. I don't know if it is your case. I am not a fashion lover, but I counted my t-shirts at home that I did never wear because I have no time. It was about more than 100. I did never wear those things. I did never remember of their existence. And I have no place to put those things. I bought them because it was very cheap. Because it was, you pay for one, you have three. Okay, I bought 2 times, 3 times. For 3 t-shirt price, I have 10 t-shirt. And added to each one, every week, every month, every season, I had hundreds of t-shirts. I don't count my skirts, my, I don't know, pants, my, etc., etc. It's crazy. I never wear those things. Just a personal example. So the destruction of clothes is now forbidden in France. I don't remember what is the date of this law in force. I don't know, but in the next, I think, years or this year. So this kind of measures are taken. They are symbolic. They are very limited in their effect, but at the same time, that might be regarded as a kind of first step, but I am not sure that we have time to have or to wait for the second step later. This is the problem. Maybe the will now is there, small, little by little, because we lacked the will collective will to transform things. Now the will is there. After many decades, the first official report on this problem of climate transition or climate change, I don't know, was in 70, what was the date of Meadows' report from the couple, Miss and Mr. Meadows from MIT plus a third author, 72 or 73. That was commanded by the Rome Club, the rich countries financing the third world at that time. That means that those guys, Western Europe and North America mainly, were aware of the problem in the 70s, early 70s. It's not a new thing, but we talk about since a few decades. But the problem was there. They were aware of this, the policymakers and deciders. That's why they asked for this report. And the report stated very clearly that if we don't take measures from now to 10 years later, the life will be removed from Earth's surface. The report was very clear. There will be no life in 10 years. It was 5 decades ago. And all the other reports after, in the 80s, 90s, stated the same thing. In 10 years, no life. No measure since. And we started to talk about in an open way, collectively, since a few decades, and started to take official political and legal measures since a very few years, not decades. 50 years. If we take, again, 50 other years, I am not sure that we'll have a future to implement all the good measures now. This is another problem that I cannot talk about because I have no information. Nobody has information. And at that point, at the end, I would like to defend the idea that even when we have no information, scientific, objective information about these possibilities, if there is a danger, real danger for life on Earth, we have to stop many things right now, even if it seems to be economically costly. Stop everything right now and think about how we can restart. Otherwise, there will be no life to try other alternatives. This is the prevention precaution principle. So you have 72 Meadows report, those things. And today, more recently, in the 2000, not 2000s, 2000 plus 2022, the IPCC reports. Every year, I think there are 2 reports from IPCC. This is the intergovernmental thing. Really international coordination process, very serious. Thousands and thousands of people working, producing reports, measures, and so on. Very huge work, superb. So we have this dynamic. And in these latest reports, the same statements are there. If we keep doing like we are used to do, there will be no life. Please stop, stop, stop. The train goes towards Cassandra. So institutional change means we have to reframe all these things at the collective level, at the level of entire society, global, I mean worldwide. IPCC is a way of organizing partly this kind of international cooperation. I would like to talk about not international, but supranational, because international means We'll take together coffee, drink, and discuss, as usual, and go back at home and forget all these things. Supranational means this is imposed. We decided together and we imposed to ourselves. So we have to implement. No chance, no alternative. But supranationality is a very, very hard way of doing because, we are in an individualistic world. Even at the nation's level, we are individualistic. Each nation for herself, has each individual for herself or himself. And we know by experience on the financial arena that international coordination cooperation doesn't work because there is no cooperation coordination. There are only meetings and chattings. We chat. Since many decades, we have many things. Since the Bretton Woods Agreement, we have regular international coordination cooperation meetings every year, 10 times a year. One of the examples is G something. G7, G8, G20, G40, G100, G200. We are working, we are looking for point G that doesn't exist. Crazy. So one of the cases in the 80s, when the worldwide finance had some problems through the exchange rate instabilities between major currencies at that time, between 44, 48, not 40, I am crazy, 84, 88. There were lots of meetings in New York, in Paris, and so on. The famous conferences of Louvre or Hotel Plaza in New York and so on, about how to stabilize the exchange rates. And at that time, exchange rates were relatively a fixed rate regime. So, each time, how we can fix the rate between dollar and European currencies and so on. And we were in the European exchange rate system preparing the transition to the Euro project in Europe, the monetary union project, and so on. And also we had many economic difficulties, crises, and so on. We had the crash in the New York Stock Exchange, 88, and we were in a very, very turmoil period. And at that time, those meetings, at the end of each meeting, I remember well because I looked at on TV and remember well when the journalists were there and asking the ministers and so leaving the meeting. So what kind of decision did you take together? Will have any solution to stabilize worldwide economy and finance and to relaunch economic activity because the unemployment was increasing and so on everywhere? The answers were always like this. I remember the answer of the French Minister of Finance, especially. Yeah, no problem. We decided of everything. No problem. We are in good, strong coordination, international cooperation, etc. Now we'll be going back home and trying to solve our own problems. And once we solved our own domestic problems, we'll be working on the international stabilization of monetary relations. So what kind of international coordination decision is it? Because you are talking about your domestic problems. This idea that we told about yesterday, this belief that if everyone cleans his or her own, the world will be clean, holds again here. What we mean by cooperation, coordination is this. Individuals do, the rest will come. No. Individuals do, the rest will come. Yes, the consequence that we are suffering from. That's why we are trying to think about this kind of coordination regulation. You see, it's not only related to the climate things, it's our way of doing living. And the transition will be how to change our way of doing and living. Plus, any change is risk. Here I am very kind. It's not risk, it's uncertainty. We don't know. But we talk about risk, otherwise we cannot think about things. Because uncertainty means I don't know. So we try to believe that we can know within some limits, therefore we can act. That's why we talk about risk. And also in the economics, if we talk about risk, we are able to make calculus, even if it doesn't work. That we will be talking a bit later about risks. So, here we'll be talking also about the financial needs of this kind of transition process, but we didn't yet identify what kind of transition it is. Okay, but there will be more information in a few minutes. Talking about financing process, that means that we have to absolutely think about regulation, not only of this organization, worldwide organization of the climate change process or transition process, but also regulation about financial markets functioning. Both go together. Regulation should be financial and environmental regulation. I am talking about possibilities within a capitalist or market economy society. Okay, every statement that I put forward must be understood or listened to in terms of the characteristics of this society. It's not a universal statement. It's not a technical statement. It's related entirely to the features of my society, to its dynamics, its constraints, its limits, and so on. Finance and climate go together, must be regulated together, and this regulation must be done towards a collective organization, global collective organization. So here I borrow from Bredan, 2019, that who points to three aspects of this process of organizing things at the global level. The first is a destination. Destination means our goal, or our, let's say, kind of letter of intent. Okay, here the example of Paris Agreement that in many countries we don't yet accept to implement, even if we signed all this agreement. Even if some countries sometimes may change their opinion, like in the United States, when Trump was at power, he said the Paris Agreement, as well as other agreements, I don't care about. Because we told about yesterday, those guys believe that when they have this the title, they can decide of without any reflection, deep reflection, or any discussion. I'm not sure that it is called democracy, because we voted for. This is a kind of mission that you give to the guy. But guy thinks that once he is elected or she is elected, she has the full legitimacy to make everything, to do everything without any constraint. Our democracies are like this today. So that's why the agreements are not really a kind of a security or safety system for keeping, developing the transition process in good conditions. Well, so let's go ahead. Destination, in Paris Agreement, for example, there is the limitation of the temperature rise, 1.5, 2 point. Tomorrow we'll be talking about 3.1, 3.3. After tomorrow it will be 4.05 and so on. The numbers are different. We can put the numbers. It's very cheap. You don't even need a pencil. You can take your computer and push on the buttons to make numbers and sign up.
What's the real one? It's 1.5 or are we?
Nothing, now nothing, because we cannot. It was 1.5.
Yes.
Because over 1.5, it was catastrophe. Now we saw, just 1 year later, we saw that it was impossible because during the 1 year, we did everything to block any hope to this transition of 1.5. So we started to talk about 2.0 or to some point, be that point. 2. And now we don't know if we can keep it at 2.5 or 3.
It was 1.5. I understand it was 1. But then in other articles were 2.0. So it's 2.0 or 1.5. So it's just it is changing.
Continuous change is good. Change is good. New hopes. The second point is put forward by Britain, enable what's global crew. Yeah, we need people. So I think that we have people. People are wise. People are smart everywhere. No problem. We have people, and we have knowledge. We have information. We have technology. We have everything. As we said yesterday, we have gods. But we have to organize this. Maybe behind the idea is more, we need people with will. This is like engagement in maybe some people who lived in the 70s, 60s, 70s. The engagement was for some part of people, in some part of the world, engagement was a better future, a new future, transformation of capitalism into with all the, even at that time we were talking about the same things. Capitalism with all this technology, the means, the knowledge, the information, everything, the really society had progressed enormously through centuries within capitalism. Now we can use those things to transform society into a better world. That was the engagement. We called it left approaches, socialist approaches, or anarchist, lots of things. But there was kind of ideal about the future. There was will. It didn't work. That's life. So this is this. The global crew, able global crew is this. People with will be engaged in to really work to change things. Some idealists, let's say, okay, because otherwise we have knowledge. Everyone has knowledge. Everyone is wise enough, smart enough, and a map, of course. This state of the situation. What is the situation? And how it can be presented, it can be thought of, and what are the characteristics, fragilities, means, etc. A map, general picture, landscape of the state of the situation. So those are some ideas that should be able to help us to imagine, to frame a general picture, a general let's say frame, to imagine relevant regulation or regulatory framework in order to implement, design and implement. Without designing, we cannot implement. Design and implement what we can call environmental policies or transition policies. So here, we'll take this later into account, Coelho and Resto, about the risks and so on. All these things converge where one point. We have to think about the climate change or this what we call environmental transition or energy transition in more global terms, global in the sense of worldwide, but also global in the sense of the contents. Contents means not only, we are not seeking only at changing, transforming, modifying the energy resources or the production of energy and use of energy. We have to transform all the aspects of our life, of our society. Okay, we cannot, it is very important, but because we cannot make things different when we don't use plastic, but we use paper. Because we have to produce this thing. Do we need really to do so? Till the 80s, in many countries around the world, we didn't have those things. We drank more coffee than today. How was it possible? We had normal cups, not paper or plastic cups. We drank lots of water without these plastic bottles. How was it possible? Were we magicians? No. We were normal. We were using normal things. We didn't talk about recycling and so on, or transition or sustainability. Those words didn't exist at that time. We were living normally. We were polluting, of course, no problem, but we were living, for these examples, normally. It is possible. And we had also high growth rates. Without producing and consuming those disposable things, we had very high growth rates. Producing sustainable things that we didn't call sustainable because we didn't know the word. Everything is possible. But no, I will not say this. Everything is possible. Everything is possible. But intelligent humans, I would like to, but I didn't. So now I go through the following point, which is related to this one, because time goes on and we are getting old now. Because we talk about 50s, 60s, so it's not good. We are getting old. Stay young. Stay young. I am not able to do so because I refer to old people again. Sustainability. I used the term, but didn't define it. Sustainability, we use it everywhere. We use different words in different languages. Sustainability in English things. We can use in French durability, for example. Certainly in other languages, other words might be used for this. So I'll try to make some differences, some distinction between, because when I use them, I don't feel that they are equivalent to each other. But I would like to discuss about at the, how to say, semantic or etymological level. Sustainability, what's it? What is a sustainable, I don't know, thing, activity that you can sustain. Okay, but what does it mean? You have an idea about a possible definition?
Something that keep going in the time for a long time, reproduction themselves or itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something that can be repeated, right? Reproducible. Okay, but that means that our society is sustainable because our idiot actions are repeated since many centuries. Are we sustainable for this? Sustainable idiot is sustainability, maybe idiot. So maybe it's time to stop this kind of sustainability. It's just sustainability in itself has a very confused meaning.
I think only that because they are very specialized can distinguish the whole, because in Spanish is sustentable y al mismo tiempo sostenible. Entonces, I don't know when do you have to use one, sostenible or sustentable. And you said the principal, the 17 goals of the 2030 agenda. The goals are sostenible, sustentable, but even they use both. But I can distinguish the difference because it mixed both.
Yeah. Maybe Spanish is a very rich language, so so you need to express with many words lots of things. Look at, yeah.
I think when we say sustainability, we have to think about two things. First, about society, social outcomes, and also environmental at the same time, because we have to think here in like keeping things and limited resources for future generations. I think that sustainability has here this very important aspect of future generations, no, and keeping things in a good state and thinking in social and also environmental aspects.
Perfect. Thank you. You're right. We have in mind the definition you can put on internet. Sustainability. You will have the definition given by the institutions, but also by different works that are the same because we repeat a definition officially given somewhere. It is about the possibility to allow next generation to get access to at least the same conditions within which we are living today. Okay, if we are able to let our children have the same cars, the same homes, the same clothes, at the same level of consumption, will be sustainable. We can do this. We do this since many years. We do more. We give more than we had to the next generation. And in this way, each new generation can pollute more. Is it sustainable? Capture. Yeah. But where will be able to store all this carbon? Maybe we can also find some ways not to produce as much as carbon that we do today. Are we obliged to do in this way, produce more carbon each time and find technology to store it? Yes. You're right. You're right. You're right. Everything converges where our way of doing and living. More and more. It's okay. This is the ideal. to improve life, improve conditions, to live to our children more, better. Yes, this is the ideal, and without limit, without end. But the problem is how to manage that, to allow this ideal to not to kill us, not to be transformed into a kind of suicide process. Because the improvement is not for that. This is for life. But the paradox is this effort to improve things for the next generations make the future impossible. So it is not the good way. So here it is important because some people talk about degrowth as a solution. Degrowth, what does it mean? Okay, I accept today to have only 2 cars because I had 4 cars in the past. Degrowth, 2 cars. Multiply this by improvement process, and that consists of normally, ideally, consists of allowing people, more people to get access to cars. Living conditions better. That means we are 8 billion. Tomorrow will be 10 billion. I will reduce my own consumption, but the total consumption will be increasing. It is not sustainable in the sense of making future possible. So therefore, the definition of sustainability as we have today is a very bad, even wrong definition that we use everywhere. And that doesn't give us the, no, I skipped it, the direction. Or it gives us the wrong direction. So the question is how to frame our society in a sustainable way, given that sustainability doesn't mean what it means today. So we have to identify sustainability that would be really an alternative way that would make sure that we'll have a future. Here, I propose this. This, in order to take different aspects of the questions, the problems of our life, of our world, of our system. And I put different, and you told about some of those different aspects in your intervention a few minutes ago. Here I use one term, durability, long run, long term, non-speculative by definition, speculative is short term, and opportunistic for today. Tomorrow, I don't care of. Another thing is sociality. I don't know if the word exists in English. I know that in French it doesn't exist, so it's a virtual word. If there are some linguists here, I excuse, please forgive me. But economist is good to invent these things because she or he does not know how to express ideas. Here, it's about life conditions, the living conditions, sporting activities that provide direct social utility. I don't agree with my government when it finances different projects that have no meaning for me, for my society. It's just, it has, or they have only meaning for the guys who will undertake those activities to make money. But I don't really understand. I will give you an example just to be a bit more provocative. I don't understand why my government in France, since now many years, maybe close to 1 decade, spends public money to allow individuals to buy electric cars. This public money is enormous. By car, it's about 10,000 euros. 10,000 euros was the price of a normal car like Clio, a middle-sized car, 15 years ago. 10,000 is enormous. Multiplying 10,000 by thousands of cars a year, that makes many hospitals, many schools, many roads, many things that might be socially utility. And that we need also. I don't need car. I am sorry for you. Really. I can say this because since 2019, I have no car and I am happy. So it's not very objective, it's very subjective. But just an example, of course, it's not, my word has no more value than yours. We can discuss about. But for me, just an example, as an individual, as a citizen, I didn't understand why electric cars were put forward and we put money for this. Because we know at the same time that it will be catastrophic in a few decades, those cars, with all their batteries and so on that we don't know how to recycle. And also, since the beginning, the technology was such that those batteries were very, very harmful, environmentally speaking. We are improving now, but we didn't wait before launching this new market. It's not the transition, it's a new market. New market, we didn't wait to have appropriate technology that would make sure that it would be a good choice to transform car industry into electric cars. That was just an opportunity, pure economic opportunity. And all the economic people fell in this policy. They defended electric cars, they still defend electric cars. Are they ignorant? If they are, I am sorry for them. But I'm not sure that they are ignorant. They think that, yes, it is the second best. There is no a second best. There is no a second. There is no another word. The word is out. This is sociality, I mean. Acceptability. This is more, let's say, collective, not only economic, but more humanistic, more maybe political, I don't know, aspects. A consensus. We need consensus, agreement, common goals of development. I use this old buzzword, development. I don't know what is it, what does it mean? Is it GDP growth? Is it, you know, the Human Development Index. The progressive people working the United Nations, the Conference of United Nations for Development, Commerce and Development. United Nations. So we cannot suspect United Nations or being a businessman, but it is. Human Development Index, now we don't talk about. Included, I don't remember how many variables there were there, included the energy consumption per capita as one of the criteria of development. Of course, for Africa, it was a good criteria because they had no infrastructure. But logically, when you think just 2 seconds about energy consumption per capita as a development index or criterion, yeah, maybe you can say, obviously, yes, because I get access to energy, so for heating, for light, and so on. So this is a part of civilization, normal modern life. But at the same time, what does it mean? It means that I am looking at this idea of development or modern life, good living conditions, in terms of our today's life that generates all those consequences that make compulsory transition, transformation. Lots of wrongdoings, lots of mistakes, and often voluntarily had been made. And we are still making such things. With maybe good intentions, but I am not sure. I am not so optimistic about intentions that we have. Viability. Here, I will use the reproducibility. Viability is the possibility, ability of a given system to reproduce itself without calling into question its basic values, its basic, that might be moral or technical or economic basic values. Otherwise, this entity, society, or whatever else, is not viable. So it's not sustainability, it's viability. It's about ability of the system to reproduce without this kind of crisis that will put an end to this life, to this system. At long run, viability, sustainability, durability, sociality, etc., might converge to each other. But they are focuses on different aspects that must go together, but that must be also distinguished in order to show the complexity of the problem. Otherwise, if you use one word, it's very confused, like in the sustainability case. And in the middle, sustainable. All these things make sustainability. So I adore the textbooks. I don't remember the name of the guy. So I remember because I read a paper from him, and he says that, an American economist, he says that, or in English, I don't remember. He says that he was coined the schema of sustainability, the famous thing that you have economy, you have society, you have environment, and in the middle is sustainability. How you can make sustainable economy, which is resting on unsustainable values by definition, because this is this economy that generated our today's situation. Without transforming it radically, you cannot expect it allowing you to be sustainable. So there is not an intersection point with economy. Society is the same thing. What is our society? Environment is the passive aspect. It is there. We use it. We dispose it. So it's really, this kind of presentation is horrible. And everyone takes it because it's pedagogically very useful. You see bulbs, boom, 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 spheres, oh, intersection, good. Everything goes together. No, they cannot. And now, what place for green finance? We have to talk in more accurate terms about finance. Green finance, I put it in green. For me, green finance is just right finance in green. It's nice. Green is a color, it's not nature, okay? Just color, because nature has many colors. And environment. In which environment, which society, which general framework could we think about those different bulbs? Collective decision and collective action environments. Refer to Commons 34. And here I become a bit more radical. Tight regulation, restrictions, prohibitions. As long as people didn't change their way of being and doing, everything will be prohibited. Dictatorship. Of course, I am joking, but I am serious. I am kidding you, but seriously. Everywhere where it is necessary to be preventive, precautionary for the future, not to impose values of different people, just to make that different people's different values will have a future. And we have to share the same ground, which is the Earth, planet Earth. Maybe we can exclude from this schema Bezos, because he will be living on Mars. But we, the rest, we, the people, will be living always still on Earth. So we need this Earth. And I don't want really to go to live on Mars, really. I have enough red soil on Earth. So everywhere you have different places in the world. In Latin America, we have also many countries. In many countries, we have 3 or 7 colors mountains and so on. Lots of beautiful things naturally. So we don't need to go to Mars. Everywhere it is necessary to prevent horrible harms, we need tight organization, collective organization. Finance, environment, education, health, inclusion, gender equality, whatever you want to put forward, we have to remake the world. But the world is not remade like this. History is a long, not too tranquil river, and we don't have always possibility to give the direction to this river. So we are thinking about, that's why we are thinking about, we are talking about these things. Therefore, let's identify the meaning of this stuff. Transition, why, how, and where. Energy transition, eco transition, X transition. X, I don't know, it's an unknown. What is it for? Discussion. I just suggest a very rough but general definition of it. Here, ecologically, environmental, and economic issues should be threaded together in the transition process as the two sides of the same set of global and urgent concerns society has to deal with. We then use the term eco-transition to point to the overall transition process as any structural transformation of the capitalist mode of reproduction, the regime of accumulation of financial wealth at a world scale that mainly relies on the efficiency of the private profit-seeking individual decisions and actions. From this perspective, it is worth noting that the eco-transition might be regarded as an alternative regime of reproduction of society, that will be resting on the expansion of societal welfare in a collectively sustainable and viable way. Here I refer to this bubble word, like tea bubbles. It's fashion today, so we can use bubble word, and young generations will pay attention to this because they like bubble tea. it's very nice but crazy, this kind of thing. In the capitalist monetary economy, this would require an alternative approach to the organization of markets and financial operations, since the latter is the key to any effective economic action, because we are in a capitalist monetary system. We have to tame is a very violent word, but we have to tame, to reorganize and manage, to govern in another way, alternative way, sustainable way, sustainability being this kind of thing, financial markets. Okay, we have now to discuss about how to finance the transition. Very broad concept, many references, confused, sometimes less, more and less. So the issues are many. Just to point to some of them, energy transition with the transformation of the technologies and so on, of course. So I think that there is no problem of knowledge or will. Problem is the organization. That's why I would like to again put the emphasis on regulation, the societal framework of organization of our world. Science exists itself since human became human with a brain. But science, especially today, is governed by voluntary economical choices and interests. That's why when we are in the R&D process to transform knowledge, science, invention, and so on into innovation, new ways of doing things for our everyday life, our choices depend on economic and financial criteria, which can be summarized by one word: profitability, making money, and behind rapidly and lots of speculation. That's why speculation must be prohibited everywhere. We don't need speculation. Individually, it's a good way of getting rich or getting poor, but trying to get rich. Individually, this is a good action, good choice. Socially, it's a catastrophe, and we don't need, because speculative operations don't bring anything to us, to the economy, to nothing. We don't need speculation. But we cannot prevent speculation if we don't organize markets to prohibit it. If you let markets do the rational, I will say the natural evolution of markets will be towards more and more speculation, as it is the case since last 5 decades. Financialization that we told about yesterday. This is a natural evolution. This is relying or due to the dynamics of the system. It's normal, natural. It's not a disruption. It's not a dissonance. It is normal. The result is catastrophic. Knowing this, we have to take measures to organize markets. And if we do so, markets will not be able, people will not be able, because they will not be authorized, allowed to speculate and use the social life, existence, resources just to make rapidly more money for just themselves. Capitalism doesn't need speculation, but speculation is genetically a feature of capitalism. So if we intervene into capitalism in order to keep it within some viability, durability, sociality, and so on limits, sustainability, we need to tame speculation. I am a capitalist. That's why I am thinking about possibilities to make capitalism able to survive. Otherwise, I will be stating like it was Lenin who said, or maybe I am wrong, another guy, who said, the good way, the best way, the only way to kill capitalism is to kill finance. And one day will come that we'll be able to sell to capitalists the string with which they will be suiciding themselves, hanging. Because it will be very profitable for them to buy this thing. This is the logic. And everyone knows it. Every good capitalist knows it because this is the dynamics, the very feature of the system. We are looking for the possibilities to make this society a bit more sustainable in order to allow it to survive, to not to suicide, and to keep making money. The good capitalist for me would be the capitalist that ask for collective action to organize society in a sustainable way. Otherwise, there will be a quick end to this society. Historically speaking, quick end may be 10 years, 1 century, but quick end. Why not to keep going on this system by reorganizing it? I say this, it's not because I love capitalism or I hate it. Here, I try to develop a logical analysis about the possibilities of survival of capitalism. And that's why regulation is really the sine qua non for this possibility. Otherwise, the rest is just blah, blah, and political discussion without any end and without any future. So that's why we have to redirect technologies. We have to redirect RD in order to allow them to undertake operations without any speculative constraints. It's not the choices or decision of Sanofi to develop vaccines to make people healthy against different pandemia. It's a collective choice. It's a collective need. Sanofi cannot decide of my future. She has to work for my future if she want to make money. This is what I mean. Collective action. Sanofi will make vaccines, of course. I am not in a non-capitalist society. But Sanofi cannot decide of the choice of technology development, of science development. Today, capitalism reached its ultimate level. This is the end of our society, capitalist society, because everything is decided mainly by economic interests, including science. So science, there will be no science anymore because science is not economy. When it becomes economy, it's that. You know the famous example. at the time of the COVID, when the people involved in R&D to find solutions, vaccines, and so on, Sanofi's staff, maybe head of CEO or something like that, gave a speech on TV in France and said, and as you know, Sanofi couldn't fail to produce vaccine. Why? Sanofi is one of the biggest, best vaccine makers. Technology, knowledge, everything, experience. They said one thing, horrible thing. We could provide vaccine quickly in a few months, just after the beginning of COVID. Because now we knew that the virus of COVID is very close to the virus of Ebola. A few years ago, before COVID, we had Ebola in Africa. And Sanofi worked on, developed R&D, and stopped, I don't remember, at the third or fourth phase of this R&D. And after that, normally, this is the phase of production, mass production, and distribution. So they were very close to the end. And the process is very long. In the vaccine production, new molecule, you conduct an R&D on the new molecule or molecules, and then you try some things and so on animals and others, cobay and so on. And it might take between 7 and 12 years. So they did this. But they stopped because, here I am just transmitting the speech of the guy. He stopped this because Ebola calmed down, and it remained limited, stayed limited to a few African countries. Because we were afraid of the expansion, world expansion of Ebola. That's why Sanofi was involved in R&D, because worldwide market, juicy, very attractive. They stopped. They say economically it doesn't make sense. And the guy said this, unfortunately we stopped it now, we could have the vaccine. Two things. The private interest-related decision about a collective problem, worldwide problem, humanity problem, resulted in, first, ignoring even a few people affected by Ebola, ignoring their lives. It's not marketizable, it's not profitable. They may die. First, it's not a small statement. Second, we are unable to deal with our collective problems because some private decisions decided of doing nothing because it was not profitable. Do you think that this is a rational society? Do you think that this society, such a society, might survive, be sustainable? We are playing a very bad game, and we are aware of it. And we can change the rules, we can change the game, because we do the game. We organize the game. Second, environmental transition with the transformation of everyday living practices, production as well as consumption. We are all on the same boat. Criteria like profitability, oh, very costly, oh, this. No, it is about a social problem, global society problem. It is not about your profitability, your financial efficiency, personal criteria. No, it is about our lives, including yours and your business too. If we are all dead, you'll be dead. Economic transition. Third, with the transformation of the regime of accumulation, production, and financial relations means that stop. No financialization, no speculation, reorganization of financial markets that are the headquarters of the economy, as said Schumpeter in the 30s, even before, because it was in the economic development, the book in written in German and translated in 30s in English, I think. Very good book. Schumpeter didn't develop any monetary analysis, but told about money and finance in every book, and developed lots of things, but just intuitively. Very good, very big guy, Schumpeter. It's enormous. Enormous. This is the first to make this difference between monetary approach and real approach. Real approach meaning value theories, classical, neoclassical, Marxist, Keynesian, new Keynesian economics that fail to explain, to understand the working of capitalism, and monetary approach where we have some old names of the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, but there is no well-developed approach or dominant approach in the economics. This was the first order to put the focus on this opposition. And not last on my thing, societal transition with the transformation of our dominant inegalitarian cultures and reflexes into more human and life-respectful rules and practices. I think this is a kind of collateral, but big collateral. If we do the three things, the fourth will come along spontaneously. Society will change, values will change, result will be another environment. It's very difficult because our society comes from the history. Capitalism exists maybe since 3 centuries. We don't have any accurate date, of course. It doesn't work like this. One day you wake up and someone tells you, today we are going through a new society. It's called capitalism. Yesterday it was other things. No, but roughly speaking. But this 3 centuries capitalism comes from thousands and thousands of years of patriarchal societies, of societies where the private property, inequality, etc., were preparing the basements, the foundations of the new society. So, of course, radical change, eco-transition means change in every area of our society. In a few words, we have to change also our governance models. Governance meaning organization and management of society. According to common goals, global goals, because we are in global framework, with, as I said a few minutes ago, again, regulation and supervision, according to the importance and potential harms of different activities or organizations, etc., we have to tighten or loosen regulatory systems to allow, in this every time in a given aim, to allow people to do good and best. And organizing monetary and financial markets according to common public good. The common public good, an umbrella, general umbrella, is life. If we are living for life, so we have to take as the first major, main core, critical criterion of decision of every single action of our society or our life, life. Everything is for life. The rest is just a matter of who will be choosing, who will be deciding. Let's say maybe It's a question of balance of powers. But normally, it shouldn't be like this. We don't have to fight against different powers because all the powers must be directed toward life. Why we are going to the space, into the space, to look at if there is life, not to look at the planets. Oh, very nice, this planet. All are the same. You have no squared planets. All are the same, bulbs. But just to look if there is life. We are looking for life, not for anything else. Maybe a short break, not to make hate me too much. And then we'll be talking about different financial and global perspectives of this. And then we'll take some cookies for discussion. Cookies on internet or cookies are real cookies, not virtual.
Commander, captain, whatever.
So let's come back to our discussions and try to spend our energy to 1 hour, right? I have to stop at 2. Okay.
You can use this.
It's okay. Thank you. As we said, we have technology and knowledge. No problem for this. So now the next point, always related to the previous ones, about financial, taking a financial perspective. And here I will be just following a short work. This one. So the departure point is just to put the emphasis on the huge financial needs, funding needs of a possible transition process, assuming that we know what does it mean, the transition process. Okay, we know we have our goals as stated in the previous document. We have the goal, we have the people with will and skills, and we have the map. Okay, it's not obvious, but assume that we have all these things. So now we have to finance this process because we are in a monetary economy where without finance there is no effective action. So here, for example, when we take some references like Energy Transitions Commission of 2023, the required capital investment, it is about capital investment, so more involving private sector. Okay, it's not about the huge amounts, billions and billions and billions that we need, but just the contribution of financial markets. Assuming that financial markets will be able to do so, okay, without speculation. And it will be another point that we'll be discussing on. The required capital investment to achieve a carbon neutral economy will amount to 3 trillion by 2030, 4.5 trillion by 40, and 3.5 trillion over the next 3 decades. Very precise amounts. Okay, so the precision is just to give an idea, I think, and maybe we may need 10 times more than this. We don't know. Just to give a kind of idea. So we can find other amounts in the other works of international institutions or private research institutions, but the amounts are very, very huge each time. And our horizon is limited for the moment to 2050. So just, let's say 25 years, next 25 years. And it's about trillions and trillions. Normally those trillions are not too much because when we know that we spend more than $50,000 billion as the total, roughly speaking, cost of the global financial crisis of 2007-08, these trillions are nothing. Okay, and also they are given in static terms. So in the evolution, we might imagine that with the transition process, with implementation of different actions and so on, things might be improved, and those things, new ways of doing organizing might provide us with new resources, new financial resources, and so on. Okay, so this is in static terms. Just at that moment, with the given conditions of today, we expect those amounts in capital investment. So why I take this example? First, because I would like to ask the question, and this is the main topic of this, main problematic of this paper, is can we imagine the transition financing or climate financing or something like this in terms of the organization of funding process through the financial markets? Can we imagine that financial markets, as we are in a financialized economy, financial markets can finance the transition, as we assume that they can finance everything in our life? Okay, that's why we think that they must be free, because they decide of the things in the better way, in the efficient way. This is the argument of liberalization. Free financial markets do better, okay, than public organization. Okay. And here we will be using what we said yesterday about this speculative short-term perspective of markets. In order to know if it is possible to envisage, to imagine, expect the financing of transition through financial markets operations. And the second point will be in this article, will be related to what we said a few minutes ago this morning, but also yesterday, the necessary institutional and regulatory framework that must give us the general environmental, institutional, and social, societal environment that we need in order to imagine different financing procedures, alternatives, ways to make sure that we'll be able to handle with this long-term transition process and achieve it as expected, under the constraint or threat that we will have a second chance. Because when time goes on and we do something, if this something doesn't provide us with good outcomes, and on the contrary, it contributes to the worsening of the situation, so there will be no return. Okay? But in the movie, Back to the Future, we have not this possibility. That's why we like movies, because they allow us to dream of impossible things. Yes, even love stories or technology things, dream of impossible things. Yes, of course. Okay. You can read, but it is not my book. Fortunately, it's a great sociologist. He has more than 100 years. Yeah, maybe because he's always the Edgar Morin. He gave a kind of interview last year, I think, about the evolution of society or something like that, or a few years ago. Edgar Morin, yeah, very, and he, for example, this is just an example to the researcher that thinks about problems, but that tries to also frame some alternatives. You see some, I would say, some possible ways of doing things, not only ideas, but also programs. And Edgar Morin is one of them. You can share or not his ideas, but he's a very productive thinker. Yeah. That's why you couldn't get the book earlier, because it takes time to transmit the book, which is a very valuable thing. So, if we are going to make a copy. It is one of the first books he wrote. But he wrote it in French So it's the same, French or Spanish, it's the same language. Latin language. Even if, of course, Spanish is richer than French. As in the case of sustainability and what was the second? Sustainability and sustainable and sustainable. Okay. But in France we have soutenable and no, we have just soutenable. Soutenable, sustainability, sustainability and sustainable. But we have also durable. And some people use durable instead of sustainable. Because durable, that dures, that lasts. Sustainable, you can sustain. I can sustain anything that has not to dure, to last. So this is just for people who like this kind of semantic discussion. But for myself, I have no competences to discuss about because I'm not really linguistic. So he's a thinker. like the old guys. There was no economist or there were no economists or socialists. There were thinkers. We call them philosophers in the past. This is this kind of guy. So he's an old guy. So, old school. Yeah. So this is a normal now, new normal, 100. This is the on average normal age.
He said he was born in Paris in 1921.
Wow, 102.
1921.
Yeah, 102.
1921.
Yeah. So today he is 102. Yeah, time goes on. Okay, so so the second aspect is this: the use of institutionalist approaches in terms of the how to say the assessment or evaluation of the characteristics, features of the climate change or climate transition, energy transition process in terms of provision of public goods. So the idea here is if according to the features, characteristics of the thing here, transition, their financial stability, if we can argue that those are public goods that cannot be provided by the market mechanism, and at the same time that are needed by and for everyone on earth, so they have to produce them to provide them. In this case, we have to find solution for their provision. As by definition, this provision cannot come from markets or individuals. I call market individual. Okay, market means individual, private individual decisions and actions. Therefore, we have to organize it. We have markets and alternatives. What are the alternatives? Public power or public related, as we said yesterday, communities, local organizations, and so on. So here reference is to Hardin's The Tragedy of the Commons. When the things are like commons or public goods, they are not the same thing, technically speaking, but very close to each other. Well, so we are in the case of commons or public goods that cannot be provided by markets or by individuals speaking, separated from each other. And when they are provided collectively, community or publicly, individuals have a possibility or tendency to abuse, to use them, but without paying attention to their depletion. That therefore their individual use becomes a kind of abuse. Okay, even if they are not intended to abuse. Okay. So this is the tragedy of the commons. Things are belonging to us, to all of us, and we need all these things. We deplete them. And this is our end. We use them, we abuse, and the end is our ends. Okay? Like when you are clean in your home and you put your rest outside, and you will be getting sick because the environment will be sick. While your home is very clean. This is the individualistic approach. And you cannot provide the public health by individualistic decisions, because you cannot take into account, or you don't want to take into account, you have no ability, envy, will, capacity, knowledge, information about the whole life. You will be taking your own decisions according to your own interest, which is a rational way of doing, but the result will be catastrophic even for you, because life will be horrible, because you will be sick, etc., etc., because of the pandemic and so on, because as the consequence of your actions. Very nice, rational, micro-rational actions. Micro and macro are not going together. Okay, the paradox of micro versus macro that we told about yesterday too. This is the second point that goes with the first, which was those huge amounts that we need to finance such a process, if we know what's the process, of course. And therefore, we have to organize, to imagine a robust, durable, long-term, not speculative, stable down, durable, stable, all those conditions that financial markets cannot provide us with, to make sure that the process will be funded according to the needs, characteristics, and so on. Today we talk about this issue, financing of the transition process, through two terms, two concepts: the mitigation and adaptation. We talk about mitigation, stating that we have to mitigate, but we don't know how, or we know how, but we don't want to make it in this way. Mitigating, so taking some measures like European Union, as I said this morning, prohibiting some types of activities, or our provision is usually going through market incentives, taxing through fiscal measures, for example, or giving incentives in favor of people that will be more respectful with regard to these new rules and so on. But we let people free of their own decisions, free to do things if they accept to pay taxes. Like Kyoto. Kyoto Protocol is this, was this. This was the first international, supranational rule. It is horrible. A solution. That means, that shows how we imagine our solutions for this future. Those solutions, we imagine that they can come from the market that generated these problems. I don't know if economists or politicians are rational in the sense of logical framework. When you give some axioms, you have to respect those axioms in order to develop your arguments. There is no such a coherence in this kind of a proposal. Because Kyoto says, first, Kyoto set up the rights to pollute. The first thing is, you have right to pollute. But we are fighting against pollution. Why you give me rights to pollute? I give you rights to pollute, no problem. But if you pollute much, you have to pay for. Very disturbing. And we were happy to sign up this protocol. We'll change the future. Why? We'll be paying for our pollution. And then the pollution will be removed. We didn't think about, but it is market incentive. And it must work because markets work. When did you see this? Where did you see this? Since 3 centuries? Do you have any model showing even conceptually that it is possible? Yes, we have a model, perfectly competitive market equilibrium. But this model is not a market model. It's a central plan model. It's a socialist economy model. Scientifically organized and human-faced socialism, as said the Britain, Cambridge economist John Robinson and her team in the 30s of last century. Whereas in general equilibrium is a very good framework to organize a scientific and human-faced socialist society, because it's a planned economy model. And we don't have any other thing. We didn't develop any other thing. And we gave Nobel Prizes to Gérard Debreu, who formalized mathematically with Kenneth Arrow the Walrasian general equilibrium, which is a Soviet model, not Soviet, central plan economy. Crazy, no? And we are teaching this as the proof that free market economy is a good optimum society. I think that historians, few centuries later, will ask this question. There was a period in humanity's history where very wise, smart people with high technology knowledge believed that their reference, scientific reference for economy or economic society that was in force at that time was the good proof, objective proof to the optimality of their way of doing, while it was the contrary for another society, planned society. And historians will never understand how we've been able to do in this way things with all our knowledge and scientific progress. I think that ideology is over everything. This is thanks to the ideology that we keep believing and using openly everywhere, asserting that we know that our society, our market economy is the best because we have the proof for it. While the proof is the contrary, that a well-organized, collectively well-organized society might work with freedom and optimum, socially, individually, respecting social constraints and looking for her or his own satisfaction only, without taking into account others. So we can state that we have already the model of collective society, which is the model of the so-called Walrasian general equilibrium. We don't have to look for a new alternative. Just to implement the model that the liberal people use as a proof, scientific proof of their ideology. I am sure that if we can let those people say, please, now we accept that Walrasian general equilibrium is the good way of organizing society. we let you liberal people please implement it. There will be immediate transition to an alternative society, thanks to the liberal economists. But they are more wise than this, of course, much wiser. They will never do this. So, how to finance this process if it cannot come from markets, from individual decisions? We have to imagine alternative ways of organizing, more public or all public, I don't know. Since, I repeat, to reinforce this statement, since the transition is a very broad process, societal transition that we can call eco-transition, not ecologic, not economic, eco-transition, including every aspect of the problem of life, as we try to show through this 5 verbs schema. Durability, viability, Okay. Then the role of public interventions, public policies is essential, crucial. And we see every day this role because even in this way of doing, liberal way of doing, public power is everywhere. This is public finance funding that makes many things wrong or good, but that makes everything, most of the things that we do today to change our life comes from public funding through fiscal process or through direct financing. And the example of electric cars, but also some subsidized paid for different private projects and so on, are very huge amounts that we spend in this process. Even if we are not sure that they will really contribute to this transition. But they come from public power. They come from our pockets, our own bank accounts. Yeah, taxes, or what we will not have for other things. Or we have no today. When you cannot get access to public school or public health infrastructures or transport, better life, and so on, this is because the efforts are spent in another thing, for another thing. And I can come back to the example of, again, electric cars and the money that we spend since many years to allow people to get access to those cars that are, for the moment, more expensive than the traditional cars, and then to incite people to buy those cars. The difference is paid by the government funding. Even if I am not really agreeing with this as a citizen. And I wouldn't like to pay my taxes to contribute this process. I do, because I have no choice. Because I am in a democracy, and democracy is the dictatorship of the government. And as I vote for the government, I accept this. This is democracy. Thank you. I feel really happy and free. Because this is my choice. And I don't like my choice. Sorry, because I was born stupid and I will die stupid. So, global collapse. We are talking about since the 70s, at least, since the Meadows report that we talked about. Anthropocene era we are living in. So what to do in order to stop, to change things, including all the stakeholders. Stakeholders are the whole planet. Businessmen are citizens of the planet, or businesswomen. Employees of those guys are the citizens of the planet. The blablators, the scholars like us, we are also citizens of this planet. The scientific people, research and development, the bakery, we are all citizens. My butcher is a citizen of this planet, even if he is looking for his profit. And that's why he will be trying to offer to me the best piece of meat. Reference to Adam Smith. And that will make my society very optimal. We are all citizens. So stakeholders are everyone. But it doesn't work because everyone has to have more and best if we transit, but nobody accepts to be involved radically in the process. The agricultural people in France, maybe you saw it on TV a few weeks ago, big strike that lasted many weeks, and I failed to miss my flight at that time because I had to move somewhere, and this was during the strike, and they were blocking the highways and so on. What was and what is still, because the problem is not over, the requirements or the demand of the agricultural people. No, we don't accept the new rules against pesticide use. What? You are dying because you are using pesticide in your activity. Are you crazy? We try to oblige you to organize things in another way just to have more chance to live. They didn't accept. They said it's so costly. They have no economic, financial, technological power to get access to alternative ways of making their business. The reaction was not, okay, but organize. Let's organize ourselves in an alternative way in order to allow each of us to undertake alternative ways, alternative activities in agriculture, and remove out pesticide use. Let's organize together. They didn't ask for this. They said, no, we don't want to have this new law. You remove it. They didn't ask for anything else. They just asked, we don't want this law. It's enough. And the law had been removed at the European level, because all the agricultural people of European countries get involved in the same kind of strike at the same time. And they said, we are really necessary to society. You have to protect your agriculture. So you have to defend, to support us, they asked citizens. Nobody discussed about. Never on TV, in the media, never I saw any discussion about the structural problem. It's crazy. We are talking about transition. That's a joke, big joke. How you can have hope for another future? I don't know, frankly speaking. I am really pleased to be here to think about those problems with you, to share ideas, but really, I ask sometimes, every day, the same question. Why do we do these things? It has no meaning. It has no meaning. Look at. Nobody wants to change things.
problem here. We have a, well, there's a discussion here in Mexico because we import corn from the USA, from the bell corn, from the big companies that produce corn in USA. We import that. When we signed the agreement of the NAFTA agreement in 1994, well, maybe Cesar or maybe our colleagues will explain better the problem that we are having. They decided that we must not import USA corn because it has glyphosate or something, that the fertilizer, and that is
And also genetically modified.
yes, they are genetically yes.
Corn.
Yes, they are genetical, and the problem is that produce cancer and whatever. But the problem is, there are two problems. One is, or three problems. One is that when we signed that agreement, they subsidize the first year of 1994. They subsidized the dollar, and it was very cheap to import not only corn, but many other things. And they destroy the farmers, no? So we have to import that. But now the president said that we must not import that. But the problem is that you never build another alternative. So they decided that no, we are going to continue importing the corn while we think how a new alternative. But I don't know, and this is very important because who is behind? Is it Monsanto?
Yeah, partly, yes, of course.
Yes, he's
Monsanto is like.
And also Monsanto is in the big agribusiness of Argentina, in the feed principal. So I don't know why do you want to change how you want to improve health while this, well, I don't know, but the people that are involved in this says that of course it creates a lot of problems health, no?
Yeah.
Allergies, many things.
Proved,
yes.
all these things. But the discussion is about, yes, it is normal, it's life, and it's not so so dangerous because scientifically you cannot today give the proof that when you are eating pesticide things, you will be you will have health problems and getting cancer and this kind of thing. We know there is a probability, very high probability, but as one of the advisor of the Alcoa, now it's another name, Alcoa, the aluminum company of America, is now after many mergers. I don't remember today's name of this big multinational aluminum sector company. One of the advisor, the doctor, health doctor, at an interview, when the journalist asked, so we use aluminum everywhere, even in food, we use aluminum, and we don't have to use aluminum. Aluminum is not necessary. Maybe as metal you can use, but it is not necessary as a conservative because we have alternatives before the aluminum and after the aluminum. But in the 60s, in the evolution of, let's say, science, etc., we saw that the use of aluminum was very practical as a new alternative, technologically speaking, and in every industry, in food as well as in other things, in all the things that we consume, we eat, etc., you have, even toothpaste is full of aluminum. Everywhere we have aluminum. And we don't know why. Why? The answer is there was a kind of technology change, and people in the industries had this opportunity to transform their things into aluminum use. They took it It was not related to, it's better, oh, it will give cancer and so on. No, it is just a normal life that we do things in this way without asking questions, without prevention, precaution, because there is no collective organization about this possible study, compulsory study that we have to do in those new alternatives to know if they would be better or worse for our future. Because we are not in such a framework. We are not in a society. We are in a casino. We play the game for today. Tomorrow, we are not aware of it. And at that time, everything has been transformed in aluminum. Vaccines full of aluminum, vaccines. I send in your genetics lots of aluminum. And we don't need this because before we had vaccines every time since 2 centuries. Before aluminum, we used other things that were not harmful to human health, but we transformed into aluminum use the technology, just like this. And since it gave us a very big industry, very huge interest. Now, if you want to leave aluminum, you will have lots of problems, even political problems. Governments, no government can dare to transform the aluminum industry today. And this advisor of this aluminum company, when the journalists asked me, why we know now scientifically that the use of aluminum is potentially cancer generating. The guy said, yes, we know it scientifically, but please be serious. The quantity of aluminum that you have in your toothpaste, in your biscuit, so small. So there is no danger. One journalist said, okay, everyone knows it, but as you spend your 100 years lifetime to eat the same things, to use the same things with aluminum, the quantity will not be the small one. And this is why you will get the cancer. The answer of the guy, I cannot answer to this because I didn't conduct 1 century analysis on people. This was like a joke. And the guy was a medic doctor, saver of life, but advisor of this company, paid maybe several millions a year as an advisor. This is a businessman.
Yes, and but the problem, the other
You
problem.
eat all the micro.
Yes, no, the problem is that, for example, now there are a lot of organic products in the market, even in Costco. For example, avocado in Costco is around 120. It's very cheap avocado here. But in USA is you double or triple.
Yeah,
if I in Costco, one avocado in Mexico is around 100. Well, maybe it will be like $4 or $5, and in USA, one avocado will be between $2 or $3. Yeah. Well, but avocado, but now the organic avocado is a little bit more. I don't know what is the difference. Who will explain me if it is organic
New
or not?
market,
Yes.
new demand. This
Yes.
is the economics.
Yes, but now who can pay organic products? No, so it is very crazy. And then you have that tomatoes that are organic and non-organic. No, all this, and now many people are vegetarian or are vegano, and now, and so this is. But who are the ones that can eat better than the mass? And also the problem that I also would have, for example, in Mexico, we didn't have diabetes or hypertension, pressure, because we eat a lot of vegetables. In the rural, we use a lot of vegetables, special beans.
And we move also.
Yes, but now all these people that come from that they have to work, and so they don't have time to make so that's also a change, a transformance of change. So you have to take the fast food, and the fast food is also no, of course, sugar, and in Mexico you can find in all around in the urban, the tacos and a lot of manteca and no, it's terrible, very delicious, but every day. Then you have the problem of obesity and diabetes.
Yeah.
So and they haven't even it is cheaper to buy a Coca-Cola than a milk.
Yeah.
So this is policy, economic policy,
right.
No?
Yeah, right.
But this is that how the profit of these big companies, are spoiling the life.
Yes, of course.
That's and when you are thinking of the just transition, well, I think you have to think in more things.
Yes, of course, but it's related to the same issue, to the issue of organizing things through a collective action according to collective goals of transformation of society, and to reduce or prevent harms that we generate through our activities, production and consumption, and so on. This is the same problem. So eco-transition doesn't mean eating, let's say, more organic. Eco-transition means changing society. And once the society is different, we will not be eating pesticides. We'll be eating, everything will be organic. By law, collective action is also restriction. Collective action is regulation. Restriction when you compare it with our today's life. But in another life, in another society, it will not be restriction because there will be no choice. There will be no Coke. Coke doesn't exist. It's there for more than 1 century. We didn't Coke in the past. We will not have Coke in the future. We don't need this. This is an habit. We know sugar. So a recent study on some people from, I don't remember how many thousands years ago, they found some food and they analyzed the things and they saw that people had not, what is the carry, the problem of carries. Yeah. They didn't have this. Why? Because they didn't have sugar. And sugar or sweeter things produce some bacteria that, you see, and this kind of thing. So our life is today's life. It can be different tomorrow as it could be different yesterday. So we have to change life according to the harms that we generate today with our today's way of living. And everything is possible. And as we are humans, we can do things voluntarily. But we are behaving as animals. We keep living our harmful life. We just blah, blah. Yeah, we have to do so. We have to do so. And going out, we'll be buying our Coke. We'll be buying our sugary things. We'll be drinking our things. I like alcohol. But alcohol is a natural product, even if it is harmful to life, of course. But what we use to do alcohol, to make alcohol, we have also lots of pesticide-ized grains and so on. But this is the whole life that we have to change. It's not about prohibiting life. It is about promoting life. Everything is good to promote life. But we have to get started by prohibiting things. Prohibition means regulation, not preventing people from being free. It is regulating life in order to make it better, to live. We are not living to live. We are living to die today. We are making money to die today. We don't make money to have longer life, better life. Because your example is this. We make money to kill people. It's obvious when you are producing some weapons because it is your business. We know that you are producing this to kill people. Okay, it's clear. I cannot criticize. I am against, but I cannot criticize. But you are producing food to kill people. You are producing vaccine to kill people. You are producing education to kill people. Because I repeat the same values that accept this way of doing and living. And so on. This is a society-wide global problem of change.
Especially how it was said, the development of food after the post-war, and especially like that, transnational companies of USA, because, for example, you don't need to eat eggs and bacon all that day, every day. You don't need to.
It's very good. Big Mac with bacon is better.
No,
With good fresh coke. No, it's good, really, because we are used to
but it is it was the breakfast and the meals that were set after the Second War, especially in USA, is the need to develop these.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it will be for Chinese companies, the same thing for the next years. We will have the same, excuse me the term, shit, from Chinese companies instead of American companies. The color is changing, not the content. So.
What are proposals for this very radical change? Because it's a very radical change. I mean, it's not only about like personal preferences of consumers, it's everything, the whole system. So on the one side, as you said, it's more regulation and supervision of financial systems, which are enormous nowadays, but also supply chain. The supply chains nowadays are so globalized with these offshoring tendencies. How to stop this? I mean, my cell phone probably traveled more than I did in my whole life, you know, and everything I consume, in fact. So how to change this? Because I think that we have, on the one side, the financial system, and on the other, we have supply chains, which are very complicated. And here you propose, and here I'm quoting you, that we require coordination at the global level that could be designed and implemented by systematically powerful public institutions. Supranational, I can imagine, but what kind of institutions do you have in mind? Are we going to reform the existing ones, or we need to?
So normally, thank you for your questions and remarks. Normally, the more accurate discussion about will come tomorrow. I expect in this way, but so is everything, every points is related to each other. So what I will be able to propose, to suggest, will not provide us with technical or more precise details. Otherwise, I will not discuss. I will not discuss about. I will just give. I have the solution, etc., etc. And so, even if we have solutions, I am sure we have solutions. If we just sit down, 3-4 people or 3 billion people, whatever the number, because we are all smart and wise, we can produce solutions immediately, even technical details. No problem. We have everything. We know everything. I am sure that we are able to create life as well as we are able to destroy it. So they go together, those two sides of the same coin. We are able. My point will be what I said yesterday, the rule of prevention precaution. And we use this rule, and then the complexity now is about the values, the goals, common goals, that must be inclusive. I cannot decide for you of what we have to do. We have to decide together of what we have to do for us. Okay? And this is let's say, I don't know if there is another way of discussing, sharing ideas and deciding together or not, but in our today's society, we call it democracy that consists of discussing openly without any, let's say, control from one or two of among us. We are equal each other and discussing openly, and we decide in majority. I don't know. So I know that last century, Arrow and many others thought about the decision process, the voting process, how it was very difficult to reach a kind of all-inclusive democracy, etc., etc. And sometimes looking for this kind of all-inclusive democracy, we are prevented from reaching any decision solution, and that generates the opposite result. We sit down together to try to decide of a common solution, and then we have no solution because of this way. So it's another problem, but it's a big problem of this collective decision. I am aware of this, but I think that we are able. We'll be talking about some steps of the way of going through this kind of solution, collective decision process. I have in mind a kind of five-step organization. What are the points that we have to pay attention to in order to decide on what we can do together for the future? But this is the only thing that I will be able to suggest, and maybe that might give us a kind of opportunity to, or how to say, impetus or something like that. The first moment to push us to think in another way. I don't know. So this is this there. I think that. Yeah, for example, we talk in some cases, we use this kind of process, ombudsman and so on. Different ideas exist, how we can organize the decision process, the discussion and decision process in an open way, in an equal way, inclusive way, all those very fashion terms today, but they are very basic concepts that we have to include in our reflection universe. We must be together. We have to do together. So this means inclusion, this means equality, every kind of equality, and so on. We are citizens. We are not Miss, Mr., Mrs. We are citizens. We are human citizens on Earth. We are not humans. We are just living bodies on Earth. If you want to take a larger approach to life, animals, vegetables, rocks, and so on. So I think it's a good way because it shows that we are in a, how to say, in a positive and world embracing, hugging perspective. Because we talk about Earth. Earth is not us. Earth is Earth, where we are also. We are in or on. So that might be the perspective that we have to adopt, to be aware of our place, at the same time of our role on Earth. It's not an ideal. I am just looking. I am a very, very selfish guy. I am looking for life to be able to live longer and better, but we took it with others. For me, going to the desert of, I don't know where in the United States, in a virtual city, where we'll be all together with our CEOs of all these multinationals after the doomsday, it's not in my interest. It is not life for me. I can do this today also. I don't need to invest billions and billions to have another isolated city in desert. I can live in desert now. I am living in my home. I am in desert. I am protecting. I have money. I can protect myself. I can get access everywhere, everything. Because I don't know what are the streets of Mexico City. I never leave my big car. So I move from one point to another that I want to be there without knowing everything about. I am isolated. Already here. In the middle of 20 million people, I can isolate myself. So I don't need to go in desert. So it is not my aim, because this aim, I already achieved it here in Mexico City. With 20 million, I have this reality of living without anything and anyone else. Just myself, my interest. I do this already. I am looking for another life. I want to live on earth as an earth citizen. And be able to live longer. I want to go to bars, nightclubs, everywhere, every time when I want. Longer and longer. I want to repeat the same thing next month, next year. I want to have new birthdays, drinking, eating, and so on. I am not here to live like a Mao worker. It's not my aim. This is why I must change this society based on selfishness. Because I am selfish. I know that I cannot satisfy my selfishness in this selfish society. Because it is unsustainable. This is my point. I am not an idealist. I am not an angel. I am a citizen of this messy world. But I don't understand how I cannot realize this dream. I am able to kill you. Why I cannot give you life at the same time? Because I have the power. This is just my point. It's not an economic or financial or climate related. It's a philosophical, existential question. That's why eco-transition must be global. Must be ecologic, environment, society, and so on. Every aspect, every word that I can use to define life on Earth. And my finance must obey to this. I am not anti-capitalist. I am a man. I want to live. If capitalists prevent me from living, I'm against. So we have to think about, we have to reflect, to imagine, to dream. The dream is a good thing normally, dreaming of about a better future. It is what we have since our birthday, dreaming about a better future. Asking for more, better. Why we are, let's say, I don't know, why we are working? To spend money. We spend our life to get money, to spend it, to realize our dreams. But it doesn't work in this way. Please, let's find the good way to do so together. It's not very difficult. And it must be a dream that should come true. Otherwise, dream doesn't make sense. I can stay at home without any food, any drink, anything, any people, and dream and die at the end. But my aim is to make my dreams come true. And if I see, I know that it is not possible in this life, I have to change this life. And what are we doing since the beginning? We are working to get more money. We are working to get more education. We are working to get better friends and so on. It is our common dream. But we are doing this in a very bad and wrong way. We don't dream of a world where everyone will work 8 hours a day in a given plant, nuclear plant, with gray clothes coming from Mao and so on. It is not our dream. We don't talk about collective action to make this kind of world. Otherwise, we know how to do this world. We know, we tried it. That's the point. Yeah, you look at me, I know in your eyes, there is a kind of, yes, I know there's a kind of love first for life, but also some change of time. Okay, thank you very much for maybe if you have maybe a few words, questions, or whatever you want to say.
I just have a question, I think in the same line that she is about the solution. I know that is a question that you will answer tomorrow, but I'm wondering if this is a twofold answer that it takes in count just not just the government approach in it's in the second I mean it's in a government issue, and at the same time, the other face of the same coin is the collective answer. So what are the roles that government and the community and the people have to do in order to tackle this problem? So because as you said, if fiscal policy, for example, has to be more collective or good, how can we do that? And I think that in individualistic world, it is the core question, because how we can, I mean, to get in the same line all together to tackle this kind of problem. And yeah, I think that what are the roles of these two sectors, the government one and the collective and people? That's.
Thank you. For the answer, I will maybe give the floor to you because you told about the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, I was here yesterday and I just, well, I think first of all, I think it's really important what you're getting at, like when thinking about solutions, like how do we make this big transition? I think it is really important to dream, like you said, but essentially to think about what kind of world we want to live in, like, and kind of like break it down into smaller parts, maybe, you know. I think obviously there's like, I think there are a lot of ways that we can go about the transition. And I think that we could implement an all of the above sort of approach because of the gravity of, you know, what is at stake. So yeah, like thinking about what kind of world we do want to live in. Like I want to breathe clean air. Like I want to touch grass. Like I want to, you know, have trees and forests nearby me, and I want to have friends and I want to have time to spend with my friends. Yeah, but I guess on the note of like collective action, I think that what I said yesterday is that I think we spend a lot of time, especially in economics departments, talking about how to make plans for other people, how to make the world a better place, you know, policy issues and whatnot. And I think like there is space for that, but I think we also don't look at on the ground struggles that are happening around the world. We just don't do that in the university setting, at least not in my experience in the economics department. Like there are many struggles that are happening all over the world right now that are like in direct conflict with, you know, the onslaught of the capitalist world eater is not my framing of it, but I actually don't know who to attribute that to, but basically, you know, I just think that we, can learn a lot from people who are not in the university system, not involved in, you know, formal politics per se, who are just engaged in a day-to-day struggle to make their own lives better. Yeah.
And one more, maybe comment, not question, but also related to what you were talking about, can we really consider that the collective action is the same thing as government action? I mean, does government action and this public space and public decisions and public policies really reflect the collective needs and collective action, like social society, or it's rather more related to economic interests? So I think for me, like government, it's really related to economic powers as well, especially if you look at, I don't know, the US government or Mexican government. It's really difficult for me to distinguish like economic power from the governmental power. So would we think about like public space and government action, or rather like collective action, but from social society, and how to construct this global social society? I think we are not there yet. I don't know, but
yeah. Thank you very much. Perfect. I think that you said this kind of discussion produce many things that we have already in mind, but we don't tell. When you don't tell things, things are, let's say, are just vast. They don't serve anything. So when you talk about these things, when you give your ideas, you think more than when you keep them in your mind without really sharing them. And you think more, and you will produce more and more, and you will be going through the more effective, more real things, real life discussion, solutions, possibilities. We have principles, we can produce them. Sit down alone, but they don't serve change. We have to talk about, and here, your remarks and questions and suggestions are really showing that we have many problems, we are aware of it, and talking about collective action or change, publicly speaking, doesn't mean or cannot mean, at least in our today's environment, that the state, the government, the public power, official public power will be able to do this, because for many reasons, because of public power, government power is more related, what we call the vested interest in Veblenyan or institutionalist words, more related to the economic power, financial power. It is normal. It is normal. They have the power, so they have to share the thing. Otherwise, each one needs the other. Government cannot come to the government without the support of the economic power. Economic power cannot keep controlling society without the support of political power. They go together. It's normal. But that it doesn't mean that government means only this. This is our social, political, economic structure. We have to change it. We have to have government. Government is the representation of the collective interest, common interest. It is our employee. It must work for us to organize things, not to decide of our life, to organize our needs, manage things on behalf of ourselves. First. Second, of course, we cannot imagine that one head will decide of everything and do everything. It's impossible. Even in business, you know, the decentralization is everywhere. You cannot manage all those diversified activities that require skills, etc., etc. So you decentralize, even if the power, final power, is legally in the hands of one group. So society is like this. But we will not have this kind of power conflicts because we will not be in a power society. The first thing is this. Another alternative, another future cannot be on the same model than we have today. Otherwise, we'll be reproduce the same thing. The first. Second, therefore, we can imagine different possibilities to transit through towards this kind of alternative. And local community level initiatives are very important, as well as individual initiatives are very important. But our aim must be the same. Otherwise, if my initiative is just for my interest, we remain in the same conflict. Interest, private interest versus public interest. We have to imagine things. But first, I repeat what I said yesterday, we have to be aware of what is it, what we are doing, and what we shouldn't do anymore, and change things. Once we decide of, everything is possible. But I'm not sure that we decided of. Even if everyone talks about change, transition, climate. Because we keep living on the same way, on the same model. This is the first thing that we have to do. We have to stop. We cannot think about alternatives without deciding of stopping what we are doing, we are living. Because it is in conflict what we are and what we would be. Solutions exist, solutions will exist, but we have to decide of doing in another way. It is called eco-transition. And the rest will come. Back to finance. Finance, if you need finance, it will be organized according to what we will be through eco-transition. Not according to the market dynamics that are related to making money. The rest is just detail. No, the rest is not detail. The rest is just making money. The main problem is life, my life, our lives, our future, another world. I don't need any money. I don't need any financial market. How can I finance things? As I finance the private debt, I finance my activities. If I need to finance, so as I have to transit from this society to another, I cannot radically stop this one, close the door and go to the other house and start a new life. So this is the problem of transition. Of course, big problem. But at least for the first time in my history of human, let me try such a transition. Because till now, never you can see in our history a voluntary transition. Every change came from complex and hazardous dynamics. And nobody could, and even after, can say that, oh, it is normal because here you see dynamics that point to this new society. No, 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 no. Nothing in this way. Nobody can say why we came from Middle Ages to capitalism. Nobody. But with distance after, you can say, because of this things, events, etc. So they may have lead to this change. Yes, now this change is there, you can talk about. But now I think we are at the historical turning point. We are in a situation where we are aware of our existence. We can decide of our future without letting history make this change hazardously. Are we able? Are we able to do? But are we able to decide of? This is the big question that I ask, and that gives me not too much hope. But I don't want to be unhelpful. Other spontaneous or okay. Tomorrow, if you are here and you have still resistance enough, not so tired and so bored, I will dare with pleasure. And very, very much thanks for your presence, participation, attention, resistance, being there, being shortly, and smile also, of course. This is a very important thing. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Have a nice afternoon. And see you maybe tomorrow.